In this smokeless, Harrier desolation, I have surmounted inscrutable errata under two electric polar moons shifting between the colors of slate blue and magenta. I, the Andean hill star, hovering in these Martian X-ray waste, the iridescent enigma, my centripetal wings beating against the soul of cartographical surcease, with its innervated distension, with its migrating sun loss. The triple atmosphere corroded by tense elliptical static, by the drainage from barbarous glacial nerves, so that the strange contentions of Phobos make the human staggering genetic less and less a catalog of spectrums, less and less a factor where ciphers are beheaded. Humankind now tending to gaze from a portico of gray and green, from model as nervous collective. So I am alone, having absorbed isolation, having absorbed the general coloration of imbalance. Isolated by planet, from Augustus Lumicellis, from Lorphorenus Magnifica, in an alien enigma alone. I have left the earth and its species incapable of self-rescue, of the dazzling vapor which transmutes, which allows the watery chemicals to rise and take on the wisdom of vertical misnomer, of the acid which would blend with the aerial oxide waters, with the prepotent force of natural helium speech, which implodes, which transcends present character, constricted as it is by anorexia and debris. Its retention corrosively split into an oblong grain which ceases, like a bleak Siberian witch in tragic forms of respiration. Its sodium kindled by fractious, which torment, which hounds the aspiration as to apogee, as to consuming molation. So I, as hummingbird, as expanded roach points in the blood, seeking elongation and task which conflagrates inertia. Again the task, so that illuminates snake through the cells, no longer palpable as visual largesse, as silken sanguinary spectrums to be led and negatively fed to half-learned upheavals. I who now live from the liminal burst which exists between that which flies and that which stays sullied. No, I'm not marooned on ophthalmic plateaus, cartographically contained, as though Peru were the only distance, the only memorial diamond to be breathed, to be absorbed as exclusive monomial clarity. So the barrenness, the solemn gamma ray gradations, the probing snows on Olympus Mons with its scattered rays, with its geometric diamonds congealed in the orbit of darkened Sphinxian diameter, which gives me the claim to magical fluxation and mist, so that my 5 former bodies of example gives to my aura a fable disciplined and a marker, and a glance which traces odor according to hieroglyphic substance, capable of plenitudes and aggressions, capable of neurological disaffirmatives. Here I am, woven by gravitational nobility, yet of free and cold space, known throughout the yellow Saturnian enveiglements, or across Uranian methane formations, or in the Oort configuration where a basic elevation is opened, where pre-turpentine milling of the living and the living dead are both broadened and destroyed, so that the atmosphere and earthly debility of garrisons becomes a canceled habitat for being. Yes, for dense and offensive procurement, so that the holocaust of tribes, the central extermination of salt, is no longer that which will flower in a post-racial Kemet, being the aboriginal darkness which pre-exists time. Again, the invisible fever which opens into being a random helium morale, a pitch of negrito, of a sender inside a sender, which post-exists the inverse, called by gross existence of pre-directional Eden. So one can never explain the pure charisma of my zodiac, the instant bell of my zodiac under the Christian law of simple post-mortem carnage. Never a blame cast by twists and thickets, de-invaded and then annulled by natural solar crystallization, known to varied shifts and different anatomies of creation. Here I am, graspless, a Kemetic eclipse incantation which overcomes the vial by he who migrates from nectar, who unmingles barley by he who detracts weight. shifting across anomalous ambits, across anomalous microwaves, impelled by strange alchemical dissensions, rife with ghostly umbilical drainage. Like solar zodiacal disappearance or suns in deep cerulean de-emergence, spinning as a general glossary of vertigo, or a de-engendered timber, or a burning Uranian necromantic, absorbed with spells, with eclipse syntactical flotation. Again, suffering from de-existence, from source spiraling eclipse boundaries, so that my motion baffled, incessant, nuclear with maximal displacement. Each gesture hypnotic with bifurcation, with stunned subliminal ciphers. Therefore, an exfoliation of mangers, of sand, of microscopic wriggling tires, of sight and dazzled electrons. Therefore, I exist like fish in a smokeless eclipse channel, as a scorching rain that reverses, and that the balance distorts, as in a well of carnivorous metal, or as holographic isolation, or as a sudden tendency to not exist. Like green approximal labor, as though the body were focused by glances, by projection as interior rambling, so that the blood loses weight. Then the carnage dissolves as breathless theatrical mosaic, as ghosts hyper-extended in bondage. In consequence, my hands flutter in a vat of mirages, having lost the reach of navigable tonics, of magnetized systemics. The reactive heavenly jungles, the newfound Bedouin zeal, guarded by flashes of zinc, by sudden inflationary rotations. Examine one's personal pivots, one's shafts, one's origins, the gamble ink of one's grasses, so that the mathematics of debility is no longer tested as fixed savagery by production. It's no longer the narrow germination of doubt, the prone expression of consequence, as the literal force which unseals me, which scatters my wealth in subnuclear geometry. No one skill provides me, gives blood to my advantage, not classical concentration, nor the gaze. There exists a sonar crystal, the deep camaraderie of darkness, the hesitation by expressive solar degree. So animation is heightened, is squared by cognitional sum, becomes flight and quantum transition, the magic etched in a phantom field, in a true penetration by lava. exists, the mind is the core of a kindled parallel splitting, of a tragic photon connection. Life being the power of wave as missing ensemble is outproportioned by lion, again stage as holographic ballerina, as impersonal grafting, as magical rotational interblending. Thus, the sun in a montage of death with its wasp, its riddles, its hypothetic neurology. This is where I stand on an ocean of somatic glass. Near several dark and green emblems, near blazing lunar suspensions. As monstrous and opaque as tense equational substratum, I tend to glow in lessened alabaster memory, in motionless compass, in distance symmetries by perception. The arch monomial meridians, the states of distilled refraction, flare through poisoned infiltrations just to vanish and re-exist, as though a central spectrum had fallen, as though one had lived in spurious magentas, in a magic trinity of guises, in an outer formica of florets, dispersed as electrochemical permutation, as soft, as cold and iridescent intensity, so that the taxonomic, the ruthless, the single volatility of particles is negative by confine, as panorama by extensive scorpion degree. As brainless methodology, there are ants, there are oblique medicinal diffractions as directed by sudden defilement, as floating vipers in a lake become open neon obscurity, become a phantasmic hole made dark by thesis. So with the body of a morbid hanging down, my aura burns by shifts, by ambles, by mirages, by the sun in its primordial morass summoned from a spectral locust feast. Through electric bartering grams, living as if a spectrum had been transmogrified across the sum of exploded solar windows. Amidst motions of viral infamy, of sudden discharge pontoons, of magical Lencian sails above ships of pure matrescence. Enthralled by empty Minoan game dogs, debating oxygen as form, debating menace as ideal, as one listens to fire, in dense eruptional gullet, in hanging hydrogen mirrors, so that each image is shifted back and forth between gales and the apparition of gales. So that unicorns of Chateaubriand become ceaseless to condense as forms of the earth would take on the body of enigma as transparence, as blackened meteor and abstraction. The sun no longer quantified by strange calendrical posses, but becomes phonetic differentials which ceases to quarrel with the magic of fragment as schism, as mist, as a power cast before oasis. Become game dogs, unicorn mirrors, spun as a weightless ocular thirst, as a conjure distance evolved from the force of a clarified activity, like darkened water is shot, a scale which loses humidity, then the eyes always focused as pleased for hushed exhibits.